You know the sound. Do you know about the instrument? Today on Maestro Heights, we're going to take a closer look at the Hammond B-3. Welcome to Maestro Heights. Greetings, everyone. This is Gail Macinda. Whenever you hear something new or something that you like, remember to click that like button. And while you're there, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to Maestro Heights so you know every time we upload a new video. Let's get started. You know, I've been a musician my entire life, and I began my music studies on a Hammond organ. It happened to be a Model M. A few years later, my parents bought a console for me, a Model H, and it was a very fine instrument. But it is the Hammond B-3 that is the most iconic instrument of them all. Here to tell us about it is jazz organist Bill Dilks. I first met Bill a few decades ago now when he was a product specialist performing artist for the Hammond Organ Company. His career as a professional musician began long before that, and I am delighted to say it still continues today. Welcome, Bill. It's glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here, Gail. You look great.
Thank you. You know, I know you've been playing organ as long as I have, and Hammond at that. What drew you specifically to the Hammond organ? How'd you get started in all of this?
That has to go back to, as a youth, it was odd. I was 9 or 10, and my mother and father had a friend who played, and he played a B3. Something about the sound and the way he played it, like Count Basie would play an orchestra. That's the way this guy played the Hammond organ. And somehow at 10 years old, it was weird, but it gave me butterflies. And I had to learn how to do that. It's a thrill, but it was a lot of work. The drive was there inside, just I have to play that. And that's what started me on my path to playing Hammond organ.
I remember you telling me that you used to listen to a lot of recordings and try to emulate what you heard, how to copy those sounds, and that's how you learned a lot of your technique and bass lines and things like that. Is that correct?
Yes. My recording mentor when I was getting started was a man named Earl Grant. He sang like Nat King Cole, and he played the organ like Count Basie does the band. He would play music that would draw you to the edge of your chair, and then you would feel the seat pulled out from under you, and you left your stomach somewhere else. It was that kind of feeling from Count Basie's style, jazz and swing, that caught me and has had me hooked ever since.
You know, we've talked how I got started in organ and how you got started. Maybe we should take a minute and talk about how to turn the organ on, because I know it's got a very unique start system to it. Show us, please.
Yes, it's unique in that it's a two-button system, or I'll say two switches, not buttons. One to get the motor started, and then a second motor kicks in then to keep it running. So there's a start motor and a run motor. We have two switches here. I don't know if they come through the video or not. The first switch, the start switch, and it starts grinding up. And that starts things going inside, kicks up the speed. Now, while holding that switch, I hit the run button, and that motor kicks on to keep things going. And then release the start button, and that's how you start the old Hammond organ. Made from a technology from 1930, which is about almost 90 years ago. It was advanced for the time. Now it's archaic, but it still works.
Your Hammond B-3 was built in 1959, and you've had it for quite some time, too.
Yes, I acquired it in 1971 from, get this, the proverbial little lady who had it in her house, whose husband had passed away, and we bought it. So it was like brand new. It was dusted every day, well kept. And was an instrument I was just thrilled to have back then, and it's still my baby now.
That organ and you have put on a lot of miles together, haven't you?
A lot of miles up and down, mostly East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break while we reset our cameras, and then we'll talk about some of the other things that are close up.
I am excited. Welcome to the Hammond B-3. You can see that it has, from the picture that we're showing, we have two manuals. You have the upper manual and the lower manual. It has 5 octaves worth of keys. An octave is 12 keys, so 5 of those is 60 plus an extra one on top, 61 keys. So they match note for note all the way up. Generally, playing is done on the organ with the left hand on the lower keyboard and right hand on the upper keyboard. That's standard. Now, of course, that changes versus styles versus preferences for the player, or just a general approach to the instrument. On the other side let me switch sides here. Now, we see we have reverse colored keys here on the upper manual and lower manual, and those are what are referred to as presets. For each one of these keys, you push it down. We pick one, stays down. Push another one, that stays down and releases. They're called presets. You can program sounds into each one of these both opposite colored keys. So we have a set of presets for the upper and for the lower.
So the presets run each manual or each keyboard separately. So you can change one and leave the other one however you had it previously set.
Exactly. These presets you wire in the back of the organ through and say you can save on each preset a particular sound that you like. And it's wired into place. So you push the key, boom, you get the sound. Press another preset, boom, you get another sound that you've pre-wired in the back. So they are constant. They don't change unless you're going back to the organ and change them. As you're playing, they're great time savers because if you want to just jump to a sound in a piece of music that you're playing instantly, you press a key. You don't have to go up and change different settings in preparation for that change.
I think an important preset to mention might be the cancel, how to make it all go away.
And that's something, as an organ player, I just don't like to cancel sounds on my organ, but you have to do it sometimes. Mm-hmm. So the very last key, or I'll call it the first one, cancels all the presets. It just releases them all, so the keyboard produces no sound. For example, if I push a preset and play some sound, and then I press the bottom key to cancel it, I press and get no sound at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As a matter of convenience, that can be kind of handy sometimes too.
Yes, it can. You can, like I mentioned, you can change sounds instantly without having to go through the motion. And the point of the preset, you don't have to take your hands off what you're playing, change sounds, and then come back. You just, at the stroke of a key, change sounds to what you want.
And that's one of the big advantages also of having a 2 keyboard instrument, is so that we can have one sound set up on one manual or keyboard and a different sound, a contrasting style or sound perhaps on the other one, and we can quickly switch back and forth between the two, so not everything has the same tonality or the same quality of sound like a piano does from top to bottom. And that contrasting sound is one of the big advantages of having a multi-keyboard instrument. Well, how about if we take a minute then and look at some drawbars?
All right. My favorite part. Some people call them sliders. They are drawbars. Across the top of the organ, you have some various colored, they're black. I don't know if the camera comes through or not, but they're black, dark brown, and white. And what these do, these control the sounds. So we have, well, hold on, no math. We're not going to get into math. Each keyboard has available 2 sets of drawbars. Now, one set of drawbars, 9 different sounds. Now, let me, for example, let you hear the sound it produces. So for the bottom keyboard, we have 9 drawbars right here. Mm-hmm. And starting from left to right, pull out a drawbar, make a sound. Pull out the next drawbar and a different sound. Next drawbar. And we continue that for all 9.
Now I'm going to interrupt here a minute, Bill, because a lot of times we think about sounds in buttons like the keyboards and some of the other instruments our viewers may be familiar with, where it is strictly off or on. It's either or. But with the drawbar, there's some gradation in there, more like a dimmer switch would be, where you can start softly, and if you want a little bit more of that, it's just like adding more pepper or more salt. You can control how much of each one of those sounds that you can add.
One of the things I love about the drawbars is the number of sound combinations. Each drawbar in the set of 9 has a volume setting 1 through 8. 9 drawbars, each one with 8 volume settings, allows you possible sound combinations of, I calculated it out years ago. I forget the number specifically, but I'm thinking it's in the neighborhood of like 268 million possible sound combinations that you can get on one set of drawbars. Now, each manual has available to it 2 sets of drawbars. What that allows you to do is while you're playing on the manual, with using one set of drawbars for sound, if you need to set up a specific sound that's different than anything else you've set up, you can reach for the second set of drawbars and arrange the sound that you want to come out ahead of time. So you're playing on drawbar set 1. You're setting up drawbar set 2. When you're ready, you pop one of the presets that activates drawbar set 2, and you have that sound that you prepared ahead of time. That was another wonderful innovation that Hammond added into his organ by being able to preset the drawbars as you're playing.
I remember back in the days when I had a Hammond, a lot of the music would have what they call the Hammond registration written on top of it, so that you would be able to pull out those drawbars. They would say like 8086020001. So those are the kind of the numbers.
That's how we all started, and that's how we learned to manipulate the drawbars and eventually find the sounds we want. But we do that by starting with a frame of reference out of the books.
I kind of compared it to learning how to cook with a recipe, where you take exactly how much of what you're going to add. But once you kind of get the hang of it, you really don't pay attention to that recipe so exactly. And if you watch Hammond players play, there's a lot of manipulation that happens on the drawbars on the fly. And so it's really going by shape more than the exact numbers. Would you say? Exactly.
Yeah. You're not looking at the numbers as you're playing. You're working, you can shape them just through feel and sight to know how they're going to come out without staring at the number of each drawbar specifically.
It gets to be much more intuitive. Oh, it's that practice thing again.
It is intuitive. And as we all do, we pull out the general shape of the drawbars, the sound we want. We're playing, it's like, oh, I want to add a little bit more of that high sound to make it a little bit more crisp. And we'll do it on the fly.
I tell you what, could we reset our camera and have you play a little demo for us where you can make some of those changes on the fly and we can just take a listen?
I would love to.
Thank you. Here we go.
Play.
Really fun to hear those different sounds on the organ, isn't it? But did you notice that we were just watching Bill's hands play? There's a lot more to it than that. Stick around. We've got more to show you. There's a lot of work to do. That's why I got Bill showing you some different things now. Let's take a look and see the little different angle that we have for the Hammond organ.
What happened to the speakers? There are no speakers under here. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Underneath here, you can see somewhat that we have, they're called bass pedals. Now, what these are similar to the keyboard, the same positioning, but they're nice long pieces of wood that you push with your foot to get deep bass notes. For example, again, that's for the feet. Gives the feet something to do.
The reason we do that is because they are configured in a group of 2 and 3 black keys, just like the keys on the keyboard are that you play with your hands. They're just bigger because your feet are bigger than your fingers are, and that's the only way that we have to maneuver around. So it's really a pretty ingenious system. It's been around for quite a while now. Hammond gets credit for keeping going for something that was first done with pipe organ. Now, you've got some other things down there to show us, too. What else you got down there?
We have this thing, it's called a volume pedal. Like a piano, you get your volume by striking the keys harder. On the organ, you have a pedal that you control with your right foot. Right here, it's up and down. That controls your volume for the organ.
So you push with your toe and it gets louder. You push back with your heel to make it
Exactly. So I'll push a couple of notes up top. Volume up and down.
Good example. Okay. Now, while you're down there, I am seeing the legs of the organ that are carved like pretty furniture. So that's what the organ sets on, legs, just like your bench does. But I'm also seeing some other thing. I think it's your organ dolly. Explain to what that organ dolly system is about.
All right, you can see down here, as I squeeze back, one of the legs, this is one of 4 legs that holds the organ up. These posts here, they're basically hollow tubes for wires to run up and down. They're not supports. They just look prettier than wires. The legs, so the organ's up with 4 legs. So with no speakers down here at all. Off to the side, these pieces of wood with the metal, these are called organ dollies. They're carriers. They're also use them for moving refrigerators, pianos, whatever. They go on each side of the organ, underneath, somewhat L-shaped, and then you put straps around the organ, pull it tight, and push on the lever here that lifts the thing up, and it's on wheels.
You know, as many times as you have moved that organ, I'm surprised that you have not permanently attached those dollies to the organ, even though you have them on the organ as it sits in your house. I understand. You know, aren't there times we wish we played piccolo? It just would be easier.
Yeah, I get that a lot, and of course, it would be lovely to be able to throw my instrument in my back pocket and go to a job, but I cannot get Count Basie out of a piccolo.
No, you really can't. But I know you can get it out of the organ, and that's what we're here for. Okay, I'll let you get a little bit more comfortable, and we will regroup again.
All right, give me about 2 hours to get up out of here. Okay, we talked about the organ and not having any speakers on the bottom. So, could make you wonder, well, if the organ doesn't have speakers, then where's the sound coming from? Well, it's obviously coming from a speaker someplace. And that speaker happens to be right behind me here. It's called a Leslie speaker. and the organ is plugged into from the Leslie speaker. The organ sends the sound to the speaker, and of course the sound comes out. Now, what's unique about the Leslie speaker is that it was invented by a man named Don Leslie. And what it does, it adds life to the sound by having a sound horn spinning inside of it that moves the sound around and brings the sound to life, which I'll show you. We have a speaker on the top, and then way down here on the bottom, there's another speaker, which we just trust me. This is where the bass sound comes out. So the bass sound comes out down here, and the higher sounds that you recognize as the tunes, there we go, come out on the top speaker. Now let me come around to the side and give you an idea of how it looks. Now, I'm going to cut across the picture here and give you a better view of this Leslie speaker. Now, can you see a little horn in there spinning?
Yeah, we can tell that there is something spinning. We sure can.
Okay, even let me just experiment and move in a little closer.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There we go. And I adjust the picture, and we can see that horn spinning. Probably more information. You want to know one of those horns is a dummy horn clogged up. That does so no sound comes out. It's there for balance, for physical balance, so it can spin properly. So the sound comes from one of the horns. And that's on slow spin right now. Now move it back, put it in place, put the PC in place where you can see the speaker. Now they have different speeds. They have slow speed, fast speed, and then off completely. My option for my speaker is to have it slow or fast. I don't like the stopped sound because it just sounds flat and doesn't have life to it. Now I'm going to sit down and give you an example of what the instrument sounds like with the Leslie speaker. Here it is on the spinning slow mode that we saw. Now I have a switch on my volume pedal down bottom that kicks it into high speed. So listen to the sound. Off, fast, back to slow. It brings the sound to life, and that option of going slow to fast and back to slow throughout the performance of a song, just give I keep saying the word life, but there's really no other way for me to describe it. It brings life to the sound. It brings a lot of presence. It literally throws the sound around the room, so there's not a bad place in a room to be able to hear the sound of the organ.
You know, I think it's interesting that we think about the Hammond and the Leslie together, even though they weren't invented by the same people. We certainly can't imagine having a Hammond organ without a Leslie speaker.
We sure cannot. But back in the beginning, when Don Leslie invented his Leslie speaker, Lawrence Hammond himself fought tooth and nail to not have a Leslie speaker hooked into the Hammond organ. He forbade his Hammond organ dealers to also sell Leslie speakers because he was against that sound. And pretty much up until the day he died, I think it was early 70s, he was not a fan of the Leslie speaker. But the people that worked for Hammond, they kind of knew what was happening and how things were evolving, especially in contemporary music and jazz, that the marriage of the Hammond organ and the Leslie speaker was something you could not stop, and it became a standard in contemporary music and in jazz.
And it's one more thing that you have to transport when you have a gig.
Oh, yes. That box is probably about 150 pounds. I put wheels under my Leslie speaker, and it makes life so much better. It's bulky. 150 pounds for any normal male of course, it's going to be heavy, but it's the size of the box and the maneuvering of that box that can be trying at times.
Well, we've been learning an awful lot about this organ, but I think the thing we need to do right now is hear it. Bill, would you play us a song or two?
I'd love to. This is a song called September in the Rain, which is actually one of the first Earl Grant Basie style songs that I learned. And I was maybe 14 or 15 years old. And I spent like 20 hours working on this tune back then as a teenager. People thought I was nuts, but I honestly couldn't disagree with them. And I just love the sound. So here it is. And I'm using the bass pedals. You can't see them, but it's with my left foot.
Thank you, Bill, for being with us today and showing us everything you did about the Hammond B-3 and for playing us a song. I hope that you will come back for another time when we can talk about some special effects that are available to us on the Hammond. What do you think about that?
I would love to. Anytime.
All right. Well, we will do that. Then hang on. And everybody, I hope that you will also join us on our next video when we talk about some of those special effects. And remember, we learn from the past, but we don't live there. Go be awesome today and make your own history. Bye for now. Well, it's time for more History on the Highway. Choose your next Maestro Heights course, and I'll see you there. Bye for now.